conflict on the Korean Peninsula has rapidly escalated over the past weeks, and the situation has a real risk of spinning out of control. While threats and aggressive rhetoric from Pyongyang have been the norm for some time now, this particular situation is being viewed by foreign policy experts such as Alistair Newton, Keir Lever, and former General Wesley Clark as different and more dangerous. This new danger isn't coming from North Korea as one might expect, but rather from a new and much more aggressive stance by the United States. 2 weeks ago, the United States and South Korea signed a new mutual defense agreement which radically changes America's rules of engagement with North Korea. Under this new agreement, even small provocations from the North would result in a joint military response by the US and South Korea. The general consensus among analysts is that this policy change significantly increases the chances of US forces engaging North Korea in combat.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Erin Burnett. Out front tonight, America's new path to war. So the United States is lowering the threshold for American military involvement in a possible war with North Korea.
Recent moves to position U.S. destroyers in Southeast Asia with the specific purpose of engaging North Korea if necessary show that this is not just idle talk.
On the Decatur and the McCain, they have arrived at predetermined positions in the Western Pacific where they will be poised to respond to any missile threats to our allies or our territory.
To make matters worse, we already have U.S. politicians like Congressman Peter King stating publicly that preemptive strikes on North Korea may be justifiable.
I don't want to be putting anything out there other than to say that I don't think we necessarily have to wait until we're attacked. If we have good reason to believe there's going to be an attack, I believe we have the right to take preemptive action to protect ourselves.
Speculation that some new provocative action is in the works was stirred up even more by North Korea's decision today to close down its last remaining joint project with the South, the Kaesong Industrial Park. Analysts had previously assumed that the project would be left alone since it accounts for $2 billion in annual trade and employs 50,000 North Korean workers. And while it's generally acknowledged that threats of an outright nuclear attack from North Korea are most likely just political posturing, there's a real danger that a miscalculation on either side could lead to the use of such weapons. This danger lies not in North Korea's strength, but in its weakness. A conventional confrontation between North Korea and a South Korean American coalition would be so lopsided that Pyongyang would very quickly face a full-scale occupation. In such a scenario, Kim Jong-un will be faced with the prospect of either being killed or taken into U.S. custody, which, judging by the fates of Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi, could also mean death. Cornered like this, the temptation to escalate the conflict with nuclear weapons is obvious. This isn't just speculation. Last week, North Korea released a document outlining the conditions in which they would resort to using nuclear weapons. 2 paragraphs in this document stand out. The nuclear weapons of the DPRK can only be used by a final order of the Supreme Commander of the Korean People's Army to repel invasion or attack from a hostile nuclear weapons state and make retaliatory strikes. The DPRK shall neither use nukes against the non-nuclear states nor threaten them with those weapons unless they join a hostile nuclear weapons state in its invasion and attack of the DPRK. So very clearly here they're stating that they will only use the weapons in response to an attack. These recent provocations by the United States, like the recent drills with the nuclear-capable B-2 bombers, the strategic positioning of naval destroyers, and public statements indicating that preemptive strikes may be an option, are extremely dangerous because any one of these moves could be misinterpreted and can cause the situation to spin out of control. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed his concerns regarding the environmental impact of a nuclear confrontation on the Korean Peninsula during a recent visit to a trade fair in Germany. I would make no secret about it. We are worried about the escalation on the Korean Peninsula because we're neighbors. And if, God forbid, something happens, Chernobyl, which we all know a lot about, may seem like a child's fairy tale. Is there such a threat or not? I think that there is. This situation is further complicated by a 1961 mutual defense agreement between China and North Korea, which states that China is obligated to defend North Korea if it is attacked. Some analysts feel that China is not fully committed to honoring that agreement, but testing that theory should be considered foolhardy at best, especially considering that China possesses several hundred nuclear weapons. The reality of the matter is that we do not know how China will react, especially if the United States uses nuclear weapons in the conflict. Even just a small nuclear conflict would have a devastating impact. Massive amounts of radiation would be released into the atmosphere, which would circulate worldwide by wind. The chaos which ensues would trigger an immediate downturn in global markets, and may even spark a full-fledged collapse. If China does honor its agreement to defend North Korea, the result would be unthinkable. Even the use of 50 to 100 Hiroshima-sized bombs would send tons of soot into the atmosphere, which would in turn block out the sun and reduce global temperatures by an average of 1.25 centigrade. It would also reduce rainfall worldwide for up to a decade. This would have a massive impact on agriculture, and experts predict that mass starvation would result. For those who are cheerleading for a U.S. intervention in North Korea, please stop. Nobody wins nuclear war, and only a fool would start one. If you'd like more content like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Storm Clouds Gathering, on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/StormCloudsGathering, on Twitter at Collapse Updates, and our website at stormcloudsgathering.com.
So these preparations are really stepping up now. This is by no means over. This is out of RT, the UK, which recently said it could launch a preemptive nuclear strike in the most extreme circumstances, runs the risk of being wiped off the face of the earth, the deputy head of a Russian upper house committee said. Tensions continue to build there. Also in North Korea, RT reports 10-minute warning, Japan instructs citizens on potential North Korea strike. Remember, we had the reports out of South Korea back a couple of weeks ago. They were panicked. They were exchanging messages that, you know, an attack was imminent, because that is what will probably happen. North Korea will launch the missiles into South Korea, into Seoul. Now, Japanese citizens are being warned about this. It would take 10 minutes, just 10 minutes, for a North Korean missile to hit Japan. Tokyo estimates as tensions between the countries grow. Guidelines on what to do if a strike actually happens have been published online and have recently seen a huge surge in interest. So they've set up a new Japanese civil security website which says that a North Korean missile would reach the country in a very short time, adding that a missile could cover a distance of 1,600 kilometers and reach Japan in just 10 minutes. So they're telling Japanese people to basically find the most secure building. In the event of a strike, the government recommends citizens calmly go to the strongest concrete building nearby, stay low to the floor, or get under a table. So these preparations are really stepping up now. This is by no means over. Another article, North Korea stages firing drill marking military anniversary. Of course, we had speculation that they could use this anniversary, the 85th founding anniversary of their military, to stage that 6th nuclear test that the Trump administration has said will probably trigger a military attack on North Korea. They didn't do that, thankfully. Now they've just held a large drill. Signs are detected that North Korea's military is conducting a large-scale drill around the eastern part of Wonsan on the anniversary. So they seem to have scaled it back. Remember, over the weekend, we had China come out and say, if there's an attempt at regime change in North Korea, if they try to take out Kim Jong-un, as has been suggested, China will not calmly sit back and let that happen. They will, in almost all circumstances, counter-attack. And you know what that means. It means World War III and absolute chaos.
In ancient times, man roamed the earth in a constant state of hunting or being hunted. Introducing Caveman, where cutting-edge science meets ancient super nutrients. Secure your bottle right now at InfoWarsStore.com.